Hey everyone, and welcome back to New Windsor. So today we are going to be talking a bunch about the future of the series and also filling in a bunch of the area around New Belfast. I know all of you have been waiting for this for a while, and it's going to be a little bit grindy, but we're going to fill this big gap right here. Alright, so this episode isn't really going to be focused on what's going on in-game. Not really going to use any Google Earth or anything like that. I sort of just want to talk. So, yeah, first of all, I would have rather done this in the last episode, but I recorded the last episode a couple of weeks ago. So right now, it's the 1st of March as I'm recording this audio. I recorded that last episode at the beginning of February, so I have to pre-record videos by a long time, essentially, because I upload videos in advance for patrons. But the thing is, if I'm behind on videos, it gets even more backed up because the commentary is obviously significantly more in the past, which is not good, I don't think. But it's just more of a motivation to upload consistently, I guess. But the problem is when a series like Calavera Beach goes on hiatus for a long time, it's sort of weird the way, I'll come back to the series and the first episode will have been recorded a while ago, so I can't really talk about, all that's happened, and why the video, took so long to come out, etc. So maybe one idea is to just re-record the audio after, patrons have seen the actual video if it doesn't actually come out publicly for a while. In the meantime, I could re-record it. I don't know. Figuring out a solution to that. I still do want to have early access for patrons because it generally keeps me productive. Alright, so really the thing I want to talk about in this episode is sort of how grindy I feel the series has gotten, because recently it sort of just felt like a grind. I've been grinding out episodes, not paying attention to detail enough, and it's not really, that's not, too much of a problem, because obviously I'm building a city at scale. It's not going to be too, detailed in a lot of places, just trying to go for a general aesthetic that looks really good. And we have been working on a lot of areas recently that are just really grindy, like Lighthouse Hill and the areas around there. And obviously this episode is a very grindy episode, but we really had to crank it out. I wasn't really going to try to put anything interesting here. I actually did try to build a really big park, like the one in Portland, but I wasn't able to get the artificial lake to look right, and it sort of collapsed from there, so that was sort of a failure. So I just decided to go for something a little bit more generic here, and I'm okay with that. I think it looks good, and you'll see, I do add a really cool apartment complex. The area gets tied together, and it does look really diverse. But in general, it's been a little bit grindy, and I want to vary it. I did get a comments I'm trying to find right now that sort of, went into detail on, exactly what my own mindset was So this comment was from somebody named Dimitri, who said, "At first, New Windsor was a fun series to watch. There was a unique Venice-like canal and several other unique projects, but now it's become kind of repetitive. The same buildings, the same decals, the same parkings, rinse, repeat. There's no novelty. I just skip large chunks of video to see the same scenario of you copy-pasting the same template over and over. There's no interesting interchanges, no major landmarks, no train stations, no bus routes, no metro links." Well, we've got those two now. And no unique neighborhoods, no detailed parks, even no more airport. It became monotonous. And I totally agree with that. So just unpacking that a little bit. So in terms of, yeah, like the suburbs are really similar, and it's really hard to vary them. I tried to add a lot of variance to the suburbs around New Belfast here and add a lot more high-density townhouses, and, you know, the idea is there isn't really much gentrification at all in New Belfast. Really none at all, essentially, and that's really, you know, nice. It makes the area a cool old place. Yeah, that's like one way I've tried to, you know, fix a lot of the problems with the series. I know a lot of you are going to comment and say everything's fine, everything's totally fine, but even I don't feel like everything's fine. I have been grinding for a while, and I'm worried that that's just going to get worse, because we've really worked on most of the urban core and everything of both New Windsor and New Belfast. We've got some really cool stuff coming up around New Belfast. We've got some really cool industry coming up. That's going to be on the other side of the river. We've got a lot of cool things coming up, but also a bunch of stuff that's grindy, like the suburbs I'm placing right now. And yeah, so, you know, like I've tried to make New Belfast interesting. I really hope that that's been accomplished. I mean, in terms of suburbs, some triple-deckers just came out of the workshop. Actually, a lot of triple-deckers. So I'll start placing those later in the episode, because they hadn't come out when I started. But I'm actually going to be doing a live stream, which when this video comes out, I will have already done, where I'll go over the city and just try to replace a bunch of the suburbs with newer houses from the workshop, like triple-deckers and stuff. But, you know, the answer to making these types of neighborhoods, like this old town, you know, in New Belfast, interesting, and not making it a grind, yeah, see, these are the new triple-deckers, is, I mean, it's hard, because I think the main thing that I'm going to be able to do for an area like this is the streets. Obviously, the streets have got the red sidewalks. At the ends of the video, I actually, or well, in between the end of the video and the cinematics, I replace all of these with cobblestone roads that have red sidewalks. That really distinguish them a lot, and so that does even more. So I'm trying to make this neighborhood interesting. Hopefully I've been able to accomplish that, but I want the suburbs in general to be interesting too, and I feel like that means building cool things within them, because suburbs aren't just a massive grind of just, you know, buildings and stuff. There's interesting stuff in there. There'll be, you know, bike paths and golf courses and stuff like that. And, you know, I got to integrate that stuff. And don't worry, like, to the people who think that, you know, that the series might just devolve into a really, really boring grind, even worse than it's been. I'm aware of that, and I'm trying to fix that stuff. Because, yeah, I know, like, at the beginning of the series, we were doing really cool stuff every single episode. Like, we built that massive interchange, then the university, the canal, like, all that stuff. And now, you know, we are placing a lot of buildings. I completely understand. And, I want to definitely, I mean, this episode's a really bad example of what I'm trying to do, because it is a grind, but I want to try to, you know, add some more interesting builds. I want to move on to that rural lake area that I've been talking about forever. It's just really far away, and a lot of people want me to fill the gap between New Windsor and New Belfast first, but remember, that gap being filled will require a lot of grinding, because it's not going to be a very interesting area. Another thing that's sort of a problem with New Windsor, it's also really cool in a way, is it's a really old city, obviously, especially the New Belfast part of it. So the road layouts are not exactly well planned out. They're just sort of organic, and that's just how it is in a place like Providence or Boston. New England road layouts are not organized. They're not interesting. Well, actually, no, they are sort of interesting. They're almost European in a way sometimes, and New Windsor's road layouts, for the most part, they're like that. So one really fun part of the game is building really cool organized road layouts. I haven't really been able to do that in New Windsor, and it's been harder to distinguish different districts because of that. And I just have to use the avenues in general to do that, but a lot of the time, like what $2.20 has been doing in Springwood, his road layouts are just excellent. It just wouldn't be realistic for me to build road layouts like that in New Windsor. So instead, we just sort of place roads willy-nilly, all leading to central places. Before I forget, though, because there are more things I want to talk about, thank you so much, TPB, for making probably the best mod of 2019 so far, unless I've forgotten something. The Forest Brush. Okay, so you guys know, I've been requesting a mod that would allow me to have absurdly high density for, forests for a long time. And we finally got it. Not only do we get it, we got something even better. Like, this is everything I wanted and way more. So if you haven't checked out the Forest Brush mod, you have to. It allows you to create forest brushes, essentially, where you have a set of trees and, a density you choose, and every single property you could ever want for a tree brush. It makes everything so much easier. So thank you so much, TPB. Just wanted to get that out there. Okay, back to stuff. Another thing is I want to try to make the video, like the actual layout of the videos, more interesting, if that makes sense. Once again, this is a bad example this episode, because this is just me talking, grinding through a new district. But in general, I feel like the videos, even though I like my video style, like having the cinematic breaks in the middle, and Google Earth and stuff. I want it to be more, because I've had this style for maybe a year and more than a year now, at least, and it's getting a little bit monotonous. So I don't really know what to do, though. I don't know what better options I have that wouldn't take an absurd amount of time to edit. So if any of you have any ideas whatsoever about like how I should lay out these videos and what to change about the actual video editing I do, please do leave a comment. I really need feedback on that. And just leave a comment in general on like what you think I can do to make this series a little bit less monotonous. And it will be monotonous to some extent because we're building a big city and we have to build boring suburbs in a big city. But my hope is that we're able to branch out and do some more interesting stuff as well. At least I'm being very intentional about this. I understand what the problems are and, the limits to me fixing those problems, but I definitely need your help. So please do comment on this video with just suggestions for any of the things that I have presented. And also, a note, this apartment complex that I just built, I'm a major fan of. I love that apartment complex. You'll see it in the cinematics. It just ties this whole area together really well. Because in Portland, I'll throw some Google Earth in here. In Portland, there are some newer developments, and a lot of them that are to the theme of the Northeast are relatively small individual units type thing. But then there are a lot that are modern and obnoxious looking that are totally not to the theme of Portland. I sort of combined that and did large apartment buildings that are to the theme of Portland. So hopefully you all like that. Yes, I just did that. Yes, I just destroyed that entire peninsula. Okay, that peninsula looked completely out of place. The monument looked completely out of place. Its surroundings and the detail around it looked completely out of place. Just rounding off this corner naturally seemed a lot better, and especially considering the gap in the, you know, the bay there was really, really small, hard for ships to get in. This is a lot more realistic, way better now. Okay, sorry if that annoyed some of you, but in general, that was a really bad, you know, bad build. I wasn't happy with that, and I think removing it makes essentially the entire Lighthouse Hill area a lot more realistic and reasonable. So, okay, here we're just like filling some gaps, placing some buildings, mostly just like commercial and stuff. We add some like old mills that aren't really old mills. They just use the old mill buildings to create like a converted office building of some sort. I don't know. It's been suggested. But yeah, we'll actually do mills in the future. That's something which we have to build on the outskirts of the city, and it will happen. And yeah, it'll be really cool. And yeah, here I'm doing that thing with mills there, or the mill buildings. It looks nice. But yeah, in this area, I will add some more lobster wharves. Well, some lobster wharves. I haven't really added any lobster wharves at all. And that'll happen in the future at some point when I feel like it. Right now, not feeling inspired to work on more wharves. Sort of just did a lot of that. So that'll happen sort of in the near future, hopefully. But for now, just trying to fill this gap, because this gap has been bugging me, and I figured I'd fill it with a lot of brick buildings that, you know, fit the theme well. Another thing I don't want to forget before we end, I did ask on Twitter as well if you wanted to see a new series, and it was very mixed, but the loud voices that I got in the replies were don't do it, and don't start a big new series, focus on New Windsor. And I was sort of skeptical of that. I was like, you know, I figured, okay, I've tried to start a new series a couple of times, but, you know, my attempts have been small-scale things, which I haven't really been too inspired to work on. And, you know, maybe a big city could be worth it. But I ended up deciding against it. We're going to stick to New Windsor, but one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start, when I feel uninspired to just work on New Windsor, I'm going to just go to some random part of the map and build something I'm inspired to build in a different type of city in New Windsor, so long as it reasonably fits. And we're gonna make it work, and it's gonna keep New Windsor interesting. I'm sorry I've been really all over the place this episode, but hopefully you got the picture of just everything that's going on. And yeah, things are good. We're gonna get New Windsor, you know, better than ever. It's gonna be better than ever. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed. It's about time to end the video. If you did enjoy, though, make sure to leave a like. It really does help out a ton. Helps new people find the channel. You know the deal. Subscribe if you're new around here, and hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button. We're over, I think, 21,000 subscribers or something right now, which is absurd. You can support me on Patreon if you enjoy my work, or if you want to get access to episodes early. Right now you can get access to episode 38 immediately on Patreon, so check that out in the description. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those two are also in the description. I've been very active on Twitter, a little bit less active on Instagram, but I'm going to try to fix that. So yeah, follow me on both of those. Links are in the description. Anyway, that's about it. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time.